I have a reality show that I sometimes watch. There's only one. And I have to admit that I don't watch it very often because I mostly watch news. But when I do watch a reality show, I watch one. And it is Undercover Boss. Anybody else like that? Now, I was thinking that Undercover Boss was a really, really cool show, and then I read the New York Times review of it, and I was humbled. They had some good critiques. One of the critiques, first of all, you need to know what Undercover Boss is that it's a scenario where someone very high up in a company, CEO preferably, and it's a fairly large company, so the CEO is not known, the face of the CEO is not known to everyone. And the setup is that they go for a week and work at the kind of lowest rung of the ladder, so to speak, in the company's workforce. So they take the most humble jobs, and they experience, and they're doing this anonymously. And so it's a little bit like the old Alan Lunt, smile, you're on candid camera thing. And they go and do these humble jobs, and they see what it's like for the people who are working for them. And then at the end of a week's time, they do some rewarding of people who perhaps have not been rewarded enough, or they may make some changes in the work conditions. Every now and then they correct someone whose behavior they saw needed correcting. And I have to admit, I've cried more for that show than I ever have for any other show I regularly watch. And I feel a little bit embarrassed about that. One of the things that was really humbling for me in reading the critique that was done in the New York Times is that they said the premise of the show is kind of fake from the beginning, because the people that you really want to see, the CEOs that you really want to experience what it's like to be the worker at the bottom, are not the ones who are having this experience. These CEOs are asking to have the insight. So this wonderful quote from a New York Times review in 2010. In an ideal reality revenge series, Goldman Sachs chief executive Lloyd C. Blankfein, who was just given a bonus of $9 million, would be stripped of his company cars and bespoke suits and went to work under a pseudonym as a company janitor. A few days scrubbing the men's room floor would surely give Mr. Blankfein some insight into what life is like for employees who don't make bets with other people's money. So I am chastened, but I still like the story because, like Jesus' disciples who are already committed to a service orientation, there was still more to learn. Now, the scripture for today takes place after Jesus has given his disciples the third instruction about the trouble that lay ahead for him when they get in Jerusalem, and they're on the road to Jerusalem. And the disciples, in each one of those instances, have kind of betrayed their very human nature of, yeah, you hear it, but it really doesn't sink in. And they hear the great news part of it, that things are coming to a head, and Jesus is moving to the center of power, and things are going to happen that are very important. And they forget about the hard stuff, the suffering that Jesus says is probably going to be part of that. So James and John, you gotta love them. They were important disciples. They were in with Jesus at a lot of important episodes. They were leaders, even among the disciples. And they were so honest. So they just do what we all want to do when we talk to God. Jesus, do for us whatever we ask of you. Yeah. And Jesus is really kind of gentle and tolerant with this. And he probably, maybe he's playing with him a little bit. He says, what can I do for you? Now, I don't know how many of you have ever had the fantasy of the magic genie and finding the lamp and rubbing it and getting your wish. But it almost sounds like Jesus is saying to them, okay, I'm a genie and a lamp, rub it and tell me what your wish is. And they say, well, do for us whatever we want. Then he says, what do you want? Well, that glory, that really big stuff that's happening that you've been talking about, we want to be right up there with you. Not in the middle, but on either side of you when you're in the seat of glory. Now, we have some really, really nice people who come to sermon starters. And they thought of some very, very sweet motives for the disciples, including maybe they wanted to be there to protect Jesus, which is great. But I think the other disciples who knew them well thought their motives were less than self-sacrificing. The other disciples get mad at James and John for asking for the right to be put in the seats of glory. And then Jesus teaches that leadership is about service. And we've heard that so many times, we almost just kind of slough it off. In our country right now, we are in the midst of a shift in our economy so that there are lots more, what kinds of jobs being created? Service industry jobs. And so it's not hard to find instructions about the qualities that make for a good service industry worker. I thought I'd look at some of those and find out if that can give us any guidance about the kind of servant heart that Jesus might need. Well, there were lots of different sources, and I could have made a very long list of their recommendations, but I pulled out a few that seemed to pop up over and over again about people, what you should be looking for, and what the ethos of a great customer service person represents. One is simply patience. Patience with other people. You know, I had a really, really bad customer service experience myself this week, getting books delivered here for the campus ministry, and I dealt with it for a long time, and I was really, really working to be mature because I was dealing with church people, so I thought I need to be on my good behavior, but it was really, really stretching me. At the same time, I know that the people who were listening to me were not the entire cause of whatever was going on, and even if they were, everyone's allowed a mistake now and then. They were very, very patient in dealing with me. And in fact, we are in not just the God business, us Christians, but we are in a people business. So a premium quality for disciples is patience. And with that, I would say perseverance with one another. The second one that popped up over and over again was that they have a sense of urgency about getting things taken care of, dealing with problems and complaints whenever they come in, or dealing with the customer's needs as in a very, very timely way. I find this something that I would not have expected to find on the list, but as someone who works with people who are volunteering, I can understand why that is something very important to find. We're a service organization, and we run on the good work of you who volunteer. And in order to get all of the activities done that we do, it involves a lot of coordination. And it's really, really helpful when the people who are volunteering have a sense of urgency and the importance of what they're doing. It makes a difference. Surprisingly, they say that the third characteristic that popped up again and again is that someone in customer service needs to have a sense of assertiveness, an ability to be appropriately assertive. Not everything that is being said to you is okay when people are complaining. Not every expectation is reasonable. And so to be able to hold the boundaries can be important. I think that's kind of important for disciples to hear, because sometimes the way we talk about being a servant in the Christian church makes it sound like Christians are at our best when we are just pushovers, or can't say no to anything, or give ourselves away till there's nothing left. The fourth thing that I found on the list so frequently was that people who are customer service oriented have a continual thirst for improvement. They never want to be content with what has been an okay job. They want to put it up a little bit higher, offer better service, keep working on making better processes. And finally, the really important quality that was listed over and over again, probably on every single list that I found, was commitment. I think that lots of times when we hear calls to service in the church, both through the church or in our ministries in the world, we get this kind of emotional, yes, I'm going to do that, and we go home and the rush of life comes upon us and our good intentions get dissipated. And my life is full, just like all of yours are. Some of yours are even much more full. So I want to celebrate today the fact of how much happens because people get through all of the obstacles that could keep them from serving and, in fact, make the ministries of this church happen. So do you remember in order to do this, let me just say that I think it's really important to celebrate the ministry of the laity. But I've got to tell you that I'm rather scared about it because there are so many people who do so many different things that I'm afraid that I will leave people out. And but I decided not to let the risk of forgetting someone prevent me from taking this opportunity to celebrate the service, the heart of servants that we have here in great number. The Church of Jesus Christ is an organization that is entirely dependent on the voluntary service of its members to fulfill its mission. Our mission is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world, and we have 5 main ways we do that. You may know them. If you do, say them with me. They're passionate worship, radical hospitality, faith-forming relationships, risk-taking mission, and extravagant generosity. today on Laity Sunday, we have time to celebrate the faithful contributions of the unpaid servants of Christ who labor in many ways to shed the light of God's love into our community and world. Thank you, Alan, for giving us all kind of a call to celebrate what it means to be a follower. Even though it's difficult to celebrate everyone's service, I'm going to try to lead us in doing that in a time-efficient way. So you're going to help. So you remember that old cheer, lean to the left, lean to the right, stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight? Okay, we've got to do stand up and sit down just that fast in order to get through this list. I'm going to name areas of service at King Avenue one by one. And if you've been involved in that ministry during the past year, I want you to stand and then sit down. And as we go through each ministry area, you're going to say thank you with me. So, passionate worship. It takes a surprising number of people to make each worship service happen. First of all, we have ushers and greeters. So if you've been, okay, that's your cue. That means if you've been an usher and greeter, you stand. Thank you. If you've been a musician, vocal or instrumental, or one of the people who's come up to lead open doors up here, kids. Thank you. If you have been a scripture reader or a biblical storyteller or one of the King Avenue Players people, stand up. Thank you. If you have been a visual artist, not so many at this service, more at 11, but thank you. By the way, Aaron is going to be starting an acolyte fellowship for 4th and 5th graders, so we'll have a new category of people to celebrate next year. If you've helped serve communion sometime, stand up. Thank you. And if you've been one of the people who has led ITP worship with children at the second Sunday of each month, stand up. All right. That's passionate worship as far as I can tell. You're probably going to tell me I've missed some things. Radical hospitality. Morning Blend hospitality team. Wow. If you've been on Morning Blend hospitality team, we love our donuts and coffee. Thank you. What about van drivers? Do you know, mostly for the 11 o'clock service, we have people who drive the van to pick up people and get them here. And we have some back here. Thank you. How about our kitchen cabinet? The people who make lunch after church happen 8 times a year and do a wonderful job on other occasions too. If you've served on kitchen cabinet before, thank you. And by the way, the people who after the worship service help take down the room and get it set up for that to happen, boy, you know, it's really hard to get people to stay for that. It is so important. So if you've ever stood up, yes, thank you. Yay. How about Spectrum? Spectrum hosts all kinds of activities that are hospitable and make a fellowship that brings people into new relationships. And they also do all kinds of service things themselves, like one of the lunches. So if you're on Spectrum, if you've helped with Spectrum activities, stand up. Thank you. What about people who bring cookies for all of the events that we do to open up to the community, the Gay Men's Chorus, Christmas concert, for the King Avenue Players drama? If you've brought in cookies for funeral receptions or anything, stand up. Thank you. All right. How about if you've been one of the hosts or ushers for King Avenue Player dramas, or if you've been on the drama team and helped bring that wonderful, fun sense of community to life. If you've been on King Avenue Players, yes, thank you. If you've hosted new member class or done new member interviews before, please stand up. Thank you. Thank you. If you've served on the Connections ministry team, stand up. Next service. If you have taken meals to one of our new mothers or fathers and helped welcome new families, new babies into the church with the Meal Train ministry, please stand up. Thank you. Thank you. If you have, I think part of the hospitality ministry is the trustees. If you have served on trustees, or if you have undertaken a patch of gardening to maintain the church, please stand up. Thank you. All right. Faith-forming relationships is part of our mission also. If you've been a Sunday school teacher for children, youth, or adults, or godly play storyteller, a doorkeeper, or a nursery room helper, or a Bible study leader, please stand up. Thank you. If you've been a youth group leader, gone on a retreat or chaperoned an event, or God help you if you've gone on a youth mission trip, which is the most wonderful experience in the world, thank you. If you have worked on campus ministry, on building up that, I know some of you were helping with the meal last time and came to that. Thank you. If you're on prayer partners, or you are part of prayer team, and you regularly pray for other people in this church, please stand up. Thank you. If you've been a small group leader, or if you're an all means all conversation leader, if you've served on an Emmaus team, please stand up. Thank you. If you've coached a King Avenue recreational team, which is a wonderful way for relationships to begin, stand up. Thank you. Oh, there we go. And if you have helped with any of the activities that help bring new people into our congregation, like the Easter egg hunt, or the Be Thankful and Prepare, or the Trunk or Treat celebration with children, or VBS, stand up. Thank you. And now about risk-taking mission. Oh my gosh, the list is so long. If you have served on one of our church, in one of our church mission partnerships with Church for, I'm going to list a list of them, and I want you all to stand up. Church for All People, Gates Fourth United Methodist, the Interfaith Hospitality Network, Horizon Prison Ministry, Hubbard Mastery School Partnership, Meals on Wheels, Open Shelter Lunch Packing, Mexico Partnership, NEMAP, New Life UMC, Crochet Sleeping Mats for homeless people. If you serve on an early response team, volunteer and mission, Habitat for Humanity, stand up. Thank you. And if you are a United Methodist Women or one of their allies who helps produce the rummage sale, which is really a mission activity, please stand up. Thank you. I already am thinking of things I've forgotten. Doggone it. Our last category is extravagant generosity. So these people are, lots of them, doing things that are very behind the scenes. If you've served on stewardship committee or finance committee, or if you've counted money before, if you're on the investment committee or the Huggins Fund, please stand up. Thank you. See, I see some of you are kind of embarrassed to be standing up, but I appreciate you doing it because it's inspiring. And if you've served in any role of administrative leadership of the church, SPRC, that's Staff Parish Relations, Nominating Committee, or Administrative Council, please stand up. Thank you. Small acts of service are urgently needed and always important. And there is a fit for you. If you are interested in serving, we are working on trying to create easier pathways for people to be doing their part to serve the mission. Because the greatness that we might all find is not in seeking power, but it's in seeking to serve a great mission. And there's none better. There's none better than the church. And so I would encourage you to think about your life as a servant and align your service with that of Jesus Christ. for the transformation of the world. May it be so.
Amen.